In 2006, a dynamic dance duo formed to take on the world. This Anglo-Australian partnership promptly traveled the globe, learning from the masters of dance. If no one else has the answers, and if you can find them, maybe you should get in touch with Dizzy Feet.
If you've got the questions,
we've got the answers. Good evening, everybody. Here we are once again on a Friday night. Different camera angle. Different camera.
it's a bit confusing.
Yeah. Well, we can switch between the two.
Yeah.
If you really
like
want
when
to.
you look this way. I keep looking up there.
You do, but we can look there as well. See.
Where?
What?
Ah.
I know. It's the other one there permanently. It's fixed, isn't it? So this other camera is now attached to the side.
So we can look at you, and then I can look at the screen.
Yeah.
It's like when they do that when they change tables and someone's talking.
It is.
On the news.
Yeah, I know. I thought I'm going to stick with this one because it's better quality.
This one?
Yeah, it looks nicer.
That's exciting.
Yeah, good evening, Sigrid. We're echoing.
Oh. Why are we echoing? Is it the volume on something?
Let's check. Yes, the camera. Yes, turn that off. Okay, we shouldn't be echoing now. There should be no echo anymore. Just double check that, please, everyone. Just clarify we're not echoing. Yes, no, maybe. No one's going to comment. Well, it could be, of course, there's a bit of a delay. Yeah. I think I fixed the echo. I forgot to turn the volume off. There was two audio sources. Yeah, there we go. Great.
Lovely.
Yeah, the audio was coming through the microphone and the camera, so that's why.
Okay.
Yeah, good. So we've got a few in tonight. It's nice to see you. It's good night. It's good night. It's good evening from me.
It's good evening from him.
Yeah. Great. So it's question time. There was a certain someone who spoke to me today that said they had loads of questions. They haven't necessarily shown themselves as yet, so I don't know whether they've got questions or not. So, good evening, Ray.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Friday.
Over there on YouTube.
It's Friday.
It is.
If you can remember what day it is.
Yes.
The white dress.
Lou loved the white dress.
Oh, this one?
This one. Yeah.
Yes, I liked that one as well. Haven't got it anymore.
You haven't got any dresses anymore that
No.
you used to compete in. Because
I haven't actually.
That was a long time. That was 10 years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we haven't done a competition for 10 years.
Well, it does feel like a long time ago now,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it is. Well, it is. Yeah. I'm sure there's more comments on this post, and it says there's only. Why haven't they come up on there? I don't understand. Anyway, okay.
Look on there.
Well, yeah, I can look on here, can't I? Yeah. So don't be shy. Come forward and let me know your questions if you've got anything pressing that you want to talk about.
What is
for goodness sake.
three-dimensional dancing?
What is three-dimensional dancing? Well, three-dimensional dancing is dancing in all planes of motion. So we are three-dimensional. I'm looking at the wrong camera. I'm looking at that one. Forgetting myself. So three-dimensional dancing is dancing in all three planes of motion. So it's not being square, because of course it's very easy when you put your arms up. You could just move in one block, forward, backwards, left or right. But three-dimensional dancing is utilising rotation, turn and sway, and swing as you're moving, which you're doing anyway, Julian. So
you could go around in a waltz without any sway, and that wouldn't be three-dimensional.
Or sway, or rotation,
or
body rotation.
Body
Obviously,
rotation.
turning, you turn.
Yeah, so rotation is not the same as just turning from here to here. It's not that kind of rotation we're talking about in that sense, are we?
So some people would call it dynamic dancing, where you're trying to occupy all of the space around you. So if you were to put yourself into a cube, So you'll be in the centre of a cube. The feeling is that then you are trying to occupy all of the corners in that cube as you move. I like to think of it as a cube. I've put you in a box a few times, haven't I?
You've tried.
Yeah. She got out. She escaped. Yeah. Not dance related, but how did Kelly and Ella's sleepover go the other week? Well, there was two.
Ah, it was lovely.
So last Saturday,
time.
2 weeks ago, tomorrow, Kelly had a sleepover, which was all right. She was quite calm, wasn't it? Quite sedate, really.
No, we had a disco.
So did I.
It was
anyway,
all happening in here.
Last Saturday, I had a sleepover with Ella in the office here, and ours, I think, was a little bit more frenetic.
That's your influence.
Yeah, she didn't want to go to sleep at all. She not refused, but she just didn't go to sleep.
Yeah, with me, she struggled to make it to midnight, but she wanted to make it to midnight to have midnight snacks,
Yeah.
even though I said we didn't have to.
I know.
But anyway, she wanted to stay up to midnight, and then pretty much as soon as she had a couple of crisps from a packet, she was off like a light.
She got grumpy with me because I told her to go to sleep and she didn't want to. But she eventually just fell asleep. She just fell asleep because she couldn't stay up any longer.
Yeah, bless her. No, it was a lot of fun. She loved it.
So does that answer your question, Julian, about three-dimensional dancing? You can respond if you like. What's the percentage chance of Blackpool happening in August? I'm not an organiser of that comp, Sarah, but I can't see it. I just can't see it happening.
We feel kind of slightly pessimistic about these things at the moment.
I really can't see how we can get from where we are currently to in August having 3,000 people in event auditorium dancing over 10, 12 days. I just can't see it. I can't see it. And all the people travelling in from abroad as well.
Yeah,
the majority of the competitors are from abroad. The spectators not necessarily, but the competitors are. And without the competitors, you've got no comp. So I don't know. They have to plan for it.
We don't know.
Course.
I mean, hopefully it surprises us and it does all happen. But
yeah. Well, I really hope so. But I can't see it.
Yeah.
Can you look forward to our lovely ball next February? Yes. The plan is, of course, the Britannia. Yep.
Yeah, the Britannia.
We'll be planning to run that next year. The plan was to run a comp this year as well, not the Britannia, a different kind of comp. All depends on how things turn out as and when we're allowed to do it. So we might be running a comp at quite short notice. The hotel won't have any bookings, so it'll be quite easy, I should think, to schedule something in, but we'll have to wait and see. But of course, you'll all know very soon. Do we miss Ballroom? Do we miss competing? Absolutely.
Yes.
Very much so. Very much so, yeah. We miss it terribly, in fact.
I don't think you ever not miss it, unless, I suppose you're still, perhaps when you're like completely retired.
I think there are some people that do. I mean, I know people that didn't enjoy competing really at all and were quite successful, and then as soon as they stopped, that's it, done. I think if it's a double-edged sword. If you were the champion, you can have achieved all your goals and your dreams, and then you're happy to retire and stop competing. But of course, it's like a drug, though. You still want to do it, of course, don't you?
Yeah, I don't think if you've competed quite a lot, there's nothing else that really replaces that either. It's a very difficult thing to replace, isn't it? So, I mean, if it's difficult to not miss it, but it's like anything, if you're busy with something else, you're not thinking about that so much, so you're not missing it. So it's easier, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's perhaps easier on some people that walk away from dancing completely.
Yes.
Isn't it? So some people stop competing and they stop dancing altogether, so they don't necessarily, like a lot of people that you knew.
Yeah, most of my generation actually.
Don't have anything really.
Yeah, a lot of my
with
generation just gave up completely.
So I think it's easier to perhaps not miss it if you're a bit more removed from it. Whereas if you've still got some involvement in some way, shape or form, it's a little bit harder to I suppose get over. If that's,
I suppose so.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So so you should be able to book the Britannia for next year. I don't book the time off work just yet. I don't know the dates for sure yet, but aim for Valentine's weekend
Yeah, obviously we need to talk to the hotel about things. And
But hopefully. So, another long, ridiculous question. In terms of the history of ballroom, the waltz is well documented, as is the Viennese waltz and tango. Where did the foxtrot and quickstep come from? Well, the foxtrot came in about in the 20s, didn't it? There's a urban myth that a bloke called Harry Fox invented it. So Harry Fox was a band leader, and well, actually, the quickstep came first. The quickstep came from music, of course. So the Charleston, so ragtime, fast, quick music like that, and then people obviously dances come about because of music typically, and so people were doing a Charleston sort of thing on their own, and that was bonkers fast. And it was quite dangerous, apparently. People were dancing together, and it was a bit too quick, a bit too bonkers. So the guy called Harry Fox slowed it down, and called it the foxtrot. There was a thing called the turkey trot.
I was going to say, wasn't there something called a turkey trot?
Yeah, there's a thing called a turkey trot as well. These were all dance crazes in the late teens, early 20s of 1900 and something.
I think foxtrot and quickstep kind of go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah. I'm not a dance historian, so I can't give you all of the details specifically about what we do.
I have looked it up in the
pretty
past,
much
but
that's
I can't
basically
quite remember.
where it came from.
But yeah, I don't think anything's actually confirmed in terms of foxtrot, is it? Because, like you say, it's a bit of a myth and not necessarily.
Well, I don't know. It could be true. I mean, to be honest, you know who told me that? Lionel Blair.
Okay.
Lionel Blair. So, I mean, Lionel Blair may have been making it up.
But I've heard other people say that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Hello.
What? Who's come in? Did he sneak in through the door?
He did.
Okay.
Buddy has learnt how to get up the stairs, so we have no escape from him. Bless him. Where are you? Buddy, come and say hello.
There's a good question from Lou. So she's been watching some YouTube's competitions from the 50s, so interesting. But what a difference to today's dancers. The 50s champs look almost doable. How did the change evolve? Well, things do just change and evolve over time, don't they? So people learn more and more, and people get more professional in their outlook. So in those days, there was obviously professionals and amateur dancers, but they didn't dedicate their lives to it. And of course, dancing was relatively new in the 50s, to be honest. It's only been around, competitive ballroom dancing, for 20 years, but if that, really. So these things do take time to evolve, and then the champions of the day retire, and then they look to develop and further develop what they did. Are you going to keep distracting me?
Sorry. He's gone now. I just wanted to say hello.
I think also, in terms of get off, no, he's going to have to go out because he's biting things down on the floor. That child of ours, whose dog this is, should look after him. Anyway, so
he's just scratching his nose.
all right, okay. Of the time as well, if you think about it, there was a certain amount of. Would you say that women were oppressed in the 50s so much? I don't know, but they weren't necessarily. They were shrinking violets, I suppose, weren't they, to a certain degree?
Well,
because obviously the ladies were in like this; they were very closed in.
Yeah,
in
the ladies weren't allowed to show their face, were they? So that
they were allowed to show their face, but the posture, the positioning was there. I suppose.
Buddy, no.
Shush.
He's trying to settle down and go to sleep.
So as you develop dancing, what they realised was that the further away your heads are from the centre of your partnership and your body, the more dynamic, the easier it is to move. That dog's got to leave. Take him out.
I don't know why he's doing that. I know he wants to get behind him.
Stick him under a cushion.
He wants to get under a cushion.
Stick him under a cushion. Very sorry, everyone.
Okay.
Poxy dog. Anyway, yeah, so the heads came out, and it produced easier and more efficient movement, and then just refinement over the years as well. Something that you don't necessarily see in those old videos either is the line underneath the suits, because the suits weren't very good. So men's shoulders are up here, you see, and you couldn't see actually what their arms looked like, and then suits became a bit more fitted, and men became stronger, and it was more about the line and to be stronger and more powerful. It's like anything, though, it gets better, I suppose, faster, stronger. I mean, athletes have got quicker over the years, haven't they, as well? I personally think it's gone too far. I think that dancing has developed too much, and it's no longer about the music so much. It's more about athleticism rather than
What's the matter with you?
quality. So it's more about performance than quality. This always should be a fine balance. But dancing in the 50s had a certain look to it. Choreographical things change, of course. Was people trying to push the boundaries, and then it gets refined again. So it's just, yeah, there we go. I've been well and truly upstaged by a dog for barking. I mean, I can bark at you if you want. Goodness. Yeah. Wonder how wartime folks mastered the swing so well. American GIs used to sweep women off their feet with their groovy moves. They did. They did. They were so brash, though, weren't they? Those American GIs. Yeah. There's It's not the same though as ballroom. I mean, the Latin obviously is a different animal to ballroom in that respect. So to be disciplined with two bodies moving as one is harder than two people dancing at arm's length. So in those days, of course, they hadn't necessarily mastered how to hold each other properly and to make it look as good as they could. Interestingly, there was a pioneer of ballroom dancing, especially, which was Bill and Bobby Irvin, who became champions in the 60s. So they really, really changed dancing massively. They took it from people who had their elbows down by their sides, essentially, to having proper, clean shoulder lines and arms in the right place and a head in the right place for the lady. So they were pioneers in the day, massively so. So yeah, they came out in the 60s. So things changed dramatically after the 60s. So people then tried to emulate what they did and then better what they did as well. But personally, for me, I think the best we've ever had is late 90s, early 2000s. I think after that, it started to progressively get a little bit too much about the athleticism and the performance rather than the quality and the music. Would you agree?
Possibly.
Mostly, yeah. So there we go. That's a bit of a waffle. But you know, I like to waffle, don't I?
Did you talk about the difference?
Hello, Mother. Talk about the difference of what?
There was a difference between classical and modern dynamic.
So, oh God's sake, he's watching far too many ridiculous videos on YouTube, getting the idea. Right, there's a marked difference between a classical style and perhaps a more modern dynamic style. What do you prefer? I prefer a nice balanced performance between the two, actually. So a bit of classical style and some modern dynamic style. You can take the classical style too far and be a bit too dull, and you can definitely go too far with the modern dynamic style and go too nuts.
Yeah.
What you still got to bear in mind, personally, in my opinion, you've got a man dancing with a woman, so you need a very masculine male dominating space, and a woman being shown off to her best of her ability and being beautifully flexible and elegant in the man's arm, and the shapings and the movements coming from the man's direction, so to speak. So some partnerships, you get to some partnerships where if you blank their faces off and put them into neutral arms, you wouldn't know who was the man, who was the lady, because they're both trying to produce these big shapes and curves. It's not beautiful, really. It's not beautiful. There is a beauty about ballroom dancing, where it's a strong man leading a beautifully elegant and not passive, but what's the word?
I think the idea is that it just looks beautiful.
Yeah, it just looks beautiful. So yeah,
I think with all things, you know, there's you're always looking for a balance. Things that are aesthetically pleasing have
intrinsic quality,
have a balance about them, don't they? So when things don't look quite right, something's off balance. I think that's how I feel when I look at things. And I think dancing's the same, and you know that's why we feel having that sort of masculine and feminine quality in both ballroom and Latin is important. But every couple is different, of course, and it doesn't matter if let's say the lady almost takes more, because some couples the lady almost takes more of that kind of role, not masculine role, but powerful role, let's say, and the man is a little bit more
passive,
yeah, which is absolutely fine so long as it's balanced. I think you just have to strike the right balance.
The
But
trouble with
if you
that,
have two dancers, regardless of whether it's man or lady, both trying to be strong and powerful, I feel like it doesn't work.
at the same time, anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
But-
yeah, it can swap, of
But
course.
I mean, it would always look imbalanced if the woman was visually bigger and more powerful than the man.
Well, yeah, but we're not talking about that. That's talking about...
No, well, it's about aesthetic, though, isn't it? Because to
Yeah, but
produce the
but
best
it's also
dancing,
in
the
way-
man still looks like he needs to dominate his partner's
Yes,
weight.
but that's in the way that you hold yourself and the way that you move.
Bill and Bobby Irvin,
Mm.
she was taller than him.
Yes.
Richard and Janet Gleave, she was taller than him.
Yes.
But you never knew that
Yeah.
when they danced.
Yeah.
Because they made sure that they didn't overpower
Yeah.
or overdominate their
Yeah,
partners.
so they knew how to hold their postures and everything
Yeah.
well, so that it still looked...
So therefore the idea was to always make the man look more dominant than the lady in that.
I don't
'Cause
think
that's-
it's about dominance,
Well,
though.
I'm just about not dominant as in like a dictator sort of dominance. I just mean in terms of weight and visual. That
Yeah.
the man is encapsulating and looking after the woman.
Mm.
So I think that's what it's about. Nurturing. Looking after. I go out to work, you stay and clean the dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I do the cooking. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's a big...
That is a big topic,
Big
actually.
topic, yeah.
You could go around in circles talking
Yeah.
about
Sarah Ball, your question that you've asked, I'm addressing that, and I'm addressing it not literally as we speak, but there's a lot of paperwork over here addressing that, and I'm not going to give you any more surprises or spoilers about that, but trust me, you'll get the answer to your question soon enough. With regards to your 30-year-old taking lessons, what can I say? I presume that's a son, is it? Just tell him that girls love a guy that can dance.
that. Yeah. And I
Simple
think,
as that,
wasn't there
really.
a comment about the American GIs and stuff? So, I think it's a real shame that men don't realise just what an asset being able to dance a little bit is to a woman, because a woman loves nothing more than to be swept off her feet, does she? So,
True.
you know, there's nothing...
True.
I hate the fact that perhaps men are... I could hear... Oh,
It's him.
that a lot of men are perhaps afraid, or not afraid, but feel so out of their comfort zone. Yes, I can understand that, but you know, it's just a real asset. You can just do a little bit, and it's not, you know, it's not that difficult to learn a little bit, is there?
No,
Is it?
It ticks so many boxes as well, of course. It's so great for fitness, for social, well, not at the moment for social dancing, but it's great. It's really a great thing. Get off my face. It's really great.
And it's a shame that people come to it sort of later in life. I think a lot of younger people would actually find they enjoy it a lot as a social activity, whether they get into competing or not. But I think a lot of you know, sort of 20-somethings, young couples. I know it's harder for people married with children and stuff like that because of getting away at night and stuff.
Why
but
would you try and build a creche?
yeah.
Dizzyfeet dancing babysitters so that you can go out to dance.
But you know, I think a lot of couples would actually find that it'd be something that they'd enjoy doing together, just on a social level. But obviously, what happens is a lot of people wait until their kids are grown up, or they're, you know, got more time on their hands and things like that. So yeah, but we do get the odd younger couple come in, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
That often really enjoy it. But like I say, they have things happen where they can't stick with it for whatever reason.
I'm not going to answer that, Benworth Beauties, because again, I'm going to talk about that sort of thing in a project that I'm planning on. So I'm not going to bother with that at the moment. So keep it dance specific rather than personal. If you ask me dance related questions rather than personal questions. Not because I don't like personal questions, it's that I've got a project I'm working on.
Okay, yeah.
So it's pointless then.
That just sounded funny. You said keep it dancing.
Keep it dance related. Stop being personal.
They want to know about you.
I know. I don't. Why do you want to know about me for?
That's interesting, I suppose.
Maybe we should just do a Big Brother style cameras everywhere. Everyone just watch us.
No. We don't need to do that.
For a dog I don't want, he's getting locked up. I'm keeping him still because I don't want him running around. That's the only reason he's on my lap. Anyway, he's going to get off my lap in a second because we're about to put on this week's lecture video. So this week, last week in fact, I recorded a video. I planned to do it about all 10 dances, ballroom and Latin, leg action video. However, I got 20 odd minutes in and realised that I hadn't finished on waltz yet. So I thought, well, maybe I should do another video on Latin. So the video coming up for next week will be about leg action for Latin. This week, I've done a 30-minute video about ballroom leg action and how you can use it to make your dancing a bit more beautiful. So hopefully it's useful. Hopefully it's interesting. I don't know if it's that humorous this week. I always try and make sure that I'm a little bit giggly. Sigrid wishes she started to learn to dance a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say about up at 11. But up at 11 is a good time to start, rather than 1 o'clock. She normally has 1 o'clock, so up at 11.
I'm just going to roll my eyes at you.
Ray. Oh, before we go to the video, Ray Hughes thinks wants to learn the American smooth foxtrot. I think it's a bit of fun. It's a bit trickier than the normal foxtrot, I would say, because you have to break apart from your partner and do things in opposition, apart, and side by side, and that sort of thing. It is a bit trickier, but yeah, it's a bit of fun. We've done some stuff before with some couples. There's a video on our YouTube page from Julian and Diane, and they did a American Smooth showcase at one of our Christmas dances.
They're going to hate you for saying that.
So I will be, while we're putting the other video on, I'll find a link to that and I'll share it on all 3 of our little mediums here: YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. So if you fancy watching, if you haven't seen it already, their little American Smooth number, you can have a little look. So there you are, Ray. You can have a look at that, see what you think. Yeah, it's something you can do. Kelly had a bit of experience with something similar because in Australia, because just to clarify again, Kelly is Australian. She's from down under. She's an Aboriginal. I don't know if you can tell. Well, you're from North Queensland. That's where the Aboriginals live. Anyway, she's not really Indigenous. Anyway, Kelly did Nouveau. There's a thing called Nouveau that's only in Australia, and it's very similar.
Australia and New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to American Smooth.
Well, it's a bit like American Smooth and
Sequence,
Sequence put together, because it's so many bars, I can't remember how many,
16.
that everyone does the same and around in a circle. So in that sense, it's like sequence dancing. But yeah, it's based on all the ballroom dances. So you've got, foxtrots and swing movements of Viennese waltzes, a bit of tango,
Keep talking.
bass stuff as well. And a march. They had a march.
Is there a march?
Yeah, there's a marching beat one. Yeah. Gypsy tap.
Gypsy
Look
tap.
up Gypsy tap.
I don't want to look up Gypsy tap.
Oh, it's so exciting.
I don't want to look up Gypsy tap.
Yeah. So they're based on the ballroom rhythms. You go around in a circle doing it. Everyone does the same thing. But what everyone can do is be creative with their upper body styling. So arm movements and things like that. So yeah, in that respect, it's quite similar to American Smooth, where you break apart and you can style it differently with your arms and things like that, rather than staying in the ballroom hold the whole time. Yeah. James is.
I found it.
James is getting the link up ready for the Diane and Julian show.
It's a foxtrot smooth, isn't it? It's a combination of the two.
Yeah, sort of. This one. Yeah. We didn't really do it with American Smooth in mind. We just did a foxtrot with a little bit of other stuff in between.
Yeah, it's kind of American Smooth. You could get away with that if you did that on Strictly. You could get away with it being American Smooth. Yeah, you could definitely.
I think there's a few moves that they actually have, though, don't they? I mean, actually, I don't really know much about.
No, there's a syllabus because
Yeah.
we've worked on it with the WDO, and there is a syllabus that's being put through. So there we go.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, so there's they have their own whole syllabus of steps. And
They
things,
do.
don't they?
Yeah, they do. So anyway, I've shared those links, but don't watch it now. Watch this little leg action video that's I've prepared earlier for you.
It's like cooking.
I know. Anyway, so I'll leave that with you now, and we will see you in half an hour. And if you've got any more questions after that about the video or anything else, don't be afraid to ask. See you in 30. Actually, shall see you now because that was the wrong video. That was the wrong one. This is the correct video.
Lucky I didn't start saying something.
Oh, no, I'd already turned the mic off. It's okay. I'll leave it on now, though, so you can swear. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of my Learn in 30 series. Today, we're going to be looking at leg action. Now, leg action is simply the movement from one leg to the other, a transfer of weight, so to speak, when the legs move. Now, of course, we have a leg action when we walk or do any kind of activity, but in dancing, we want to pay particular attention to the way in which we use our legs, which will allow us to show a certain style or movement quality in a particular dance. Now, leg action is quite detailed, and 30 minutes isn't really long enough to cover all of the aspects, or just some of the aspects actually, in all 10 of the dances. So this 30-minute workshop today is just about the ballroom dances and how the leg action works in the 5 ballroom dances. So we'll start with a bit of ballroom, and through the swing dances, so the waltz, the foxtrot, and the quick step, we'll talk about Viennese waltz separately and tango separately, of course, because it's not a swing dance. So those 3 dances, we use our legs pretty much in the same way, essentially. We've got rise and fall in all 3 of those dances. The rise is slightly different in the foxtrot to how it would be in the waltz and in the quick step, but essentially we're using the legs in a very similar way. So if I'm dancing a bit of waltz, the way in which my legs will move is going to be like this. So we've talked a bit about rise and fall, and we talked about how we create rise, and that was in episode 4. So when we allow our body weight to move outside of our base of support, so that's the circle drawn around your feet, that's your base of support. As your body weight goes, we call that flight. That releases your heels, and then it frees up your legs to move in a given direction, forward or sideways. There's no flight going backwards. That's another topic. But you don't have this going backwards. That doesn't happen. So when I go forwards, my weight goes out of my feet. I release the heels, and my leg swings forward from the hip. So our legs swing from the hip, like so. That's how our legs will move in a pendulum action. So that's how our legs move all the time. We can't change that. Well, you can, of course, walk like this. That's a bit weird. I don't want to do that. So, we allow our weight to go outside of our feet. Our leg will then swing from the hip into position, and our foot catches our body weight underneath. Now, to make it beautiful, we've got to do a few different things in our legs to produce a beautiful leg action. Footwork plays a role, so you've got to use your feet correctly and know where know which part of your foot is in contact with the floor at a given time, depending on the figure and the timing of the music and that sort of thing. So in this instance, I'm just going to do a forward side close. So before I move as well, so I've got the weight starting to release out of my standing foot. I'm absorbing into the floor, so I'm allowing my knee to flex, my hip to flex, my ankle to flex, and they're all moving on a diagonal action down forward over my left foot here, the standing foot that I'm standing on. So that's creating a bit of compression through my standing leg. Now what that does, I'm going to show you my little lower half of my leg here. So as I compress into the floor, my knee and my shin starts to go over the front of my foot, which, coupled with the releasing of the weight forwards, will peel the heel off the floor and start to produce the required leg action of a standing leg, from a standing leg. So you go through the leg, which releases the heel as well, and then you're going to be free to move forwards. In this instance, I'm going into a heel. So this would be, this is the standing leg. This would be the first step of a natural turn, let's say, in waltz, or the 4th step if you're doing it as a lady. So I'm flexing through my knee, through the standing leg, flex through the knee, the shin and the knee go forward over the foot. The weight starts coming out of that foot as well. I allow myself to fall forwards, which releases my heel and then allows me to step forward. So we always have an element of compression through a standing leg
before we move to produce beautiful leg action or movement. So the action of the standing leg is compressing down. It isn't happening statically, so you're not doing that and then that, because that doesn't work, that doesn't look quite right. So you have to balance the compression through the standing leg with a fall forwards to make sure that it works and looks nice, you see. So if the legs are working well, if you think of this as a spine, what we don't have is that sort of thing where you just fall forwards, and likewise you don't just have that sort of thing where we just drop down. We have a combination of the two. So we move down on a diagonal. The feeling is we're moving down diagonally. I go through the standing leg. My joints are going down towards the floor. I feel that this area is moving down towards the floor. The upper body, posture, that's another series, another episode. That's staying up. We're still lifting up beautifully. This is just the legs. The body doesn't change. And then we strike the floor with the next foot. So this has to happen. So you have to be soft through your joints on a standing leg in all three of those dances. I'm just talking about the three swing dances at the moment: waltz, foxtrot, and quickstep. The more you go through the standing leg, the more power you will have. So the idea of this is that you're loading up your joints with energy and power, ready to explode. It's like a boxer. If you imagine a boxer, they bring all of their energy in to then explode out, to be powerful and to hit harder. If they were just doing that sort of thing, of course, it isn't very powerful. I would certainly not win many boxing matches boxing like that. However, if I did this sort of thing, compressed, brought all the energy in, flexed all the joints to then explode, you can produce more power. What it does, it produces levers. Now a lever is, depending on how long those levers are, can produce a lot of energy, you see. So I'm using the lever of my thigh bone, my shin bone, and then obviously the joints in between that allow me to do that, to produce more power. So the more I do that, the more power I will get. But it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because if you want to produce power, you've got to time it right. And that's why the leg action is important. So as I said, you mustn't go down too much. You've got to balance it and time it beautifully with the fall forwards as well. Okay, so otherwise it'll look lumpy. Or if you just do that, it's going to look abrasive. And of course, you're going to bash into your partner when you move forwards. So absorbing through your standing leg is very, very important. I'll do it the other way around as well. So absorbing through here is very, very important before you move forwards. But you've got to time it with the fall out of the foot to make sure that it looks smooth and beautiful. Now, when you receive, so this is going into a heel lead, okay? So this is going through the standing leg into a heel lead. This receiving leg, so we call it a receiving leg or the free leg, first of all, it must strike the floor straight and on a heel in this instance. So as this leg passes out of your body, it starts off as a ball of foot. It skims the floor as a ball of foot whilst I'm going through this standing leg and my weight's starting to fall. This leg is going out in front of me, ready to catch my weight. So it starts as a ball and then it turns into a heel as that leg straightens. Because if you think about it, if you're bending through your left leg, your right leg can't stay straight, because that's going to be very odd. But backwards or forwards, it's very odd. So it has to flex to start with as well, along with your standing leg. Now, as it then goes out in front of you, it has space to straighten. Before your body weight gets there, your leg has to be straight. That's really important. Not a locked knee. The knee is never locked in ballroom. So it's a soft knee. And then that allows you then to receive your weight into that leg. And as your weight transitions from the back foot to the front foot, you again soften through the knee and the hip and the ankle, absorbs that weight. So you go through and you absorb and you soften that weight. And then the other leg eventually will pass underneath you, ready to then move on into the next action, whatever that might be that you're going to do. So a heel lead always starts in those three dances, waltz, foxtrot, and in quickstep, as a ball for a very short period of time. So it scuffs underneath your body, then it will turn into a heel, as your weight moves into it. So that means that it looks nicer as well, because if I was just to do that sort of thing, it's a bit clipped and a bit abrasive, but it doesn't look as beautiful as something like that, as smooth. Anyway, so that again, but that's tricky to do. That's again timing from the standing legs, timing the movement through here, and then getting your weight into that, the free leg or the receiving leg at the right time. Takes practice. You want to avoid this as well. It's not that, so we're not sliding our foot away from us like that. That's treacherous. On a slippery dance floor, you could end up flat on your face. Not a good idea. So you want to time it through the standing leg. Other leg goes out, starts as a ball, straightens, and then moves away from you as you then receive the weight into it. At the point when your weight is first in that leg, when it first arrives, the idea is to transfer all of the weight out of the back foot. So in those swing dances, you will get a straight leg, a ballroom straight leg, not a locked knee, like so. So that tells the onlooker, and you know yourself, that there's no weight in it. Okay? So a full transition of weight out of the standing leg will always allow you to lift that back foot off the floor. We don't want to do that, of course. No one wants to dance like this, unless there's some sort of choreographical reason. But it tells you that your weight has definitely come out of that foot, and you've transferred it all out into the front foot. So, to do that though, you have to be very prepared for all that weight in the receiving leg. So as I said, you've got to absorb through the knee, the hip, and allow the ankle to be soft. Now this then means that these joints are now loaded with weight, ready for you to move into whatever it is that you're going to do next. So that's the method for moving forwards for the waltz and quick step. Foxtrot is ever so slightly different in that we don't want to have the same level of movement or the same type of movement as we would have in the waltz and quick step. So the only difference with that is that you may well feel that you get the leg out in front of you, the receiving leg out in front of you a bit earlier than you would in the other dances. Now in waltz and quick step, I want to get onto my front foot nice and quickly in generally speaking, whereas in Foxtrot, I personally want to feel that I'm ever so slightly behind my front foot with my weight because of the smooth action that I want to produce. Now, when your body weight hits the front foot, of course, it's quite powerful. Everything's lined up straight over that front foot. It's encouraging you to fly more or to have more flight, which is creating a different energy. Now, in the Foxtrot, you always want to be slightly behind it because you don't want to have the same level of flight. As we've discussed in the Rise and Fall lecture in episode 4, the way in which we use Rise and Fall is different in each dance, and the way in which you use your legs will be slightly different as well. The principle is essentially the same, but to produce the right visual look or a classy Foxtrot look, you'd always have a slightly quicker receiving leg in the Foxtrot forward actions so that your body doesn't get onto the foot too early, so that you don't move too quickly. Because the idea of Foxtrot is this beautiful smooth body moving across the floor and you don't even really notice the legs. Whereas in waltz and quick step, you're very much more aware of this sort of thing before some sort of powerful lift and rise into another action. So just to summarize very quickly, moving forward in those three dances, the waltz, the Foxtrot and the quick step, stand on a leg. This one is the left. You're going to go through that leg. So your knee and your shin will go forward over your foot. All three joints in that leg are working. So the knee, the hip, and the ankle, they're all working together. As you do that, your body weight's falling forwards. You should feel the heel is starting to release. And whilst all that's happening as well, the other leg is scuffing the floor slightly and then striding out into position, ready to receive your weight. The receiving leg will be soft in the joints, in the knee and the hip and the ankle. But as that heel strikes the floor, that leg must be straight before the weight then fully transfers into it. You don't ever want to go into a bent knee because that will produce what we call a double lowering action. So you've already lowered from a previous figure, so you've obviously been up, you've lowered onto a heel, and then you're going onto a bent knee, then you're dancing down like this. That's no good. We don't want to do that either. So moving backwards in those three dances. A backward action is very different to a forward action. Now, when we move forward, we've got flight. We allow our body weights to fall, as I've already previously discussed. When you go backwards, you can't do that. And the reason you can't do that is because as bipeds, we're designed to move forwards. Our eyes are in the front of our face, our knees, our joints, everything all facilitate our movement forwards. We are not designed really to move backwards. It's not an efficient mode of movement for us, or mode of transport. I could say mode of transport. I suppose you could think of legs as a mode of transport. So moving backwards isn't natural to us. But of course, in ballroom dancing, one of us is always going to be moving backwards in a given moment, and more often than not, it is ladies. So this isn't just for the ladies, but predominantly for the ladies. So a backward action, I'll do it on the right foot. The process through the standing leg is the same. So you're going to go through the leg, and as you go through the leg, the knee and the shin are going to go forward over the foot you're standing on. So in this instance, it's my right foot. So my knee and my shin are going forward over that foot. As that happens, the other leg, the receiving leg, starts to move backwards, ready to receive my body weight. This doesn't happen. I don't do this. That's really, really important that you don't do that. So as you move backwards, your body weight feels like it moves forwards, in fact, as you're going through the standing leg, the joints of the standing leg. The other leg goes into position, and then you'll get to a point of no return, because as the person coming forward does their job, they're falling ever so slightly. They're compressing through their joints. They're getting their other leg ready to receive their weight. You, moving backwards, are resisting that ever so slightly. You're going through your standing leg, your weight is coming forward, they're doing the same. So your body weights will come together. You'll get a collection, a feeling of pressure through your bodies. And I like to think of a point of no return, the optimum moment. What's the word? I can't think of the word. There's a word for it. Like an event horizon, almost. That's perhaps a bit extreme. Anyway, you collect your weights together. And at that point, that's when you transfer and drive away from the leg you're standing on and transfer weight into the back foot. This is the most important thing. When you are transferring into that back foot, you do not lower that receiving heel until the other leg has passed. So you mustn't do that and have the other leg out in front of you, because that's an absolute no-no, because now you're stuffed. What will happen is your body weight will go behind you, and then you'll produce an extra weight for your partner, whether you're man or lady. So what will happen is you will then jar the movement, they'll grab for you or try to stop you from falling over instinctively, and it produces this bumpy action that you don't want. So you go through that standing leg, you resist your partner, the other leg moves into position, you reach that point of no return, and then you transfer weight and collect it on that new standing leg with the heel lowering with control. Okay, so it's very important that that back heel lowers as the other leg passes. And then the whole process starts again. Of course, it's going to be different depending on what you're doing, of course. So if you're doing a bit of waltz and you're on the backward action of a backside close, you're going to go through your standing leg, you're absorbing the weight, you get the point of no return, you transfer weight, there's an element of turn with that, so that heel still goes down very late when the other leg passes. This leg will be absorbed. You'll absorb into this leg in the same way that you would when you move forwards, then it allows you to drive away from that for your closing action. So it's really, really, really important that to get the beautiful action of the legs, that the feet do their job as well. So I can't stress how important this is when you move backwards for man and lady, that the back heel lowers very, very late, very late. Whether you move forward or backwards, you must always feel as though your body weight is going forwards. There is no time when you feel like you take your body weight away from your partner in ballroom. That's across all of the 5 ballroom dances through any of the actions. So it's so important that you don't lower into that back heel too quickly. So just to summarise very quickly about moving backwards, you go through the standing leg in the same way as when you go forwards. So the knee joint and the shin bone feel like they go forward over the standing foot. The other leg moves back. Now this is straight, but it's not locked. There's a softness to the knee, but it's not bent either, okay? And that is going to move away to the full length of your leg. As soon as your weight then goes into that foot, you will soften the knee ever so slightly. If you're doing a rise action out of that, which happens, then the leg will be straighter. If you're coming into a lowering action, then of course it's going to bend a bit more. But as soon as your weight is in that foot, your knees will both be soft. At this point here, you may then absorb and compress a bit more to do something else out of that, but you can only do that with your joints being soft in the first instance. If you've got locked legs, then it doesn't work. And if your knees or your joints are too soft, of course, it won't happen either. A little bit about tango. Now, tango is a different animal. The way in which we move away from our standing foot in all of the ballroom dances pretty much is the same. The thing that's different in the tango is the distribution of our weight makes a big difference because there's no body flight at all. And the way our leg works as we move away is slightly different too. But anyway, so moving forward or backwards is exactly the same in that we go through the standing leg in the same process as well. So the knee and the shin will go forward over the foot. The difference here is that we're not trying to fall when we move forwards. We're not trying to have any kind of body flight with our body past our foot. So we do feel very static on our standing foot. Tango has a softness through the joints to start with anyway. It isn't, however, like this, where we're really down on bent knees and you pick your feet up like that. It's a bit of a caricature of tango, to be fair. So as I think you all know, tango doesn't have rise and fall. Now, rise and fall is, as we've previously discussed, is in the feet. Now, unless you are someone that has an element of bounce about your walking, which some people do, they have this element of a little bit of a lilting, bouncing action, most people typically walk flat. So when you walk, you pick up your foot, place it, there's no rise and there's no fall. That is essentially what tango is. Tango is just normal movement, normal walking actions. Now, the difference of like a more dynamic ballroom tango is one that's got a bit of power. Now, to produce power, as I previously explained with the boxing aspect, is you flex and bend and absorb weight through your joints more, which allows you then to explode. So what we see in tango is higher level dancers have an absorption through their knees and their legs, ready then to explode out to produce a bit of power. Now, when you're first learning tango, you don't need any of that. You just need to be on a soft knee, two soft knees, and then just walk, whether you're moving forwards or moving backwards. The very fact that you're not going up and down on your toes will give you the tango look, because it's the only dance in ballroom that doesn't have rise and fall. So if you just walk, it will be tango. If you started doing this when you're doing tango, it's not tango. That's a bit of waltz perhaps, or something else. So you don't need to have this exaggerated caricature of tango where you're dancing on permanently bent legs to start with. When you develop your dancing, which is what I'm going to help you here, we develop the leg action, you will have a softness through your knees because we want to maintain a height. However, you don't want to be bouncing. There's no bounce in tango. We don't come up and down through the legs very much at all unless there's a choreographical reason to do it. So we use the standing leg in the same way. We flex through the standing leg. The knee and the shin go over the foot. This is moving forwards. The hips feel like they soften backwards ever so slightly. We pick up the free leg and we place it in front of us. It still straightens, but the process is different. So we're not sliding it along the floor like we would in a waltz or a quick step or a foxtrot. We are physically picking it up and placing it in front of us. As the heel strikes, the leg is straight. As we transfer weight from the back foot, rather than the back leg straightening like I described earlier, it bends and follows the front knee as this leg absorbs. And what that does, it maintains the height. So as I'm moving, I go through the leg I'm standing on to give myself a little bit of oomph to start with. I pick up my free leg, place it in front of me. Now the back knee follows the bend of the front knee, and then the whole process starts again. So as I'm doing my tango, my back knee is always following my front knee. And that means that at a given moment, I could stop, bend to the floor and come back up. I could pick up my foot, place it, the back knees followed that one. I can bend to the floor and come back up. And my body weight stays in between my feet. And then that tells me that I'm in the right place for tango, because I haven't produced any flight, I haven't produced any extra movement through my body. It's in the same place, and I'm producing a tango look. So without any music, you know it's tango, very, very distinctly tango. So if you drive through the standing leg and keep the back leg straight, then that immediately produces body flight and a visual representation of what dance you're trying to do. So you could tell this is not tango. If I now bend that back knee, moves the body weight back slightly, I'm now in between my feet, very clearly tango, go to the floor and come back up. Now this is the same position whether you're moving backwards or forwards as well. So I could have achieved this by moving backwards or forwards. So just to sum up for tango, same usage of the standing leg. However, the only difference is you pick up the front foot or the back foot, whichever way you're moving, place it into position. As it's being placed, it goes through a straight position and then it bends, but the back knee follows the front knee. That's what's going to keep you in a tango position and allow you to have beautiful leg action as you're walking forwards or backwards. You go through the standing leg, weight still stays forwards, of course, never goes backwards. You pick up the back foot, place it behind you on a bent knee, and then that keeps you from producing any extra movement that wouldn't be in with the character of the dance. But again, remember to always lower that back heel with control, never allow it to fall to the floor with a thump. Now to finish off a little bit about Viennese Waltz. Viennese Waltz is a tough dance, it's very fast. We've covered a little bit of the usage of the feet in a previous workshop. However, I didn't really talk about the legs too much. So the way in which we drive forwards in Viennese Waltz is exactly the same as we would in Waltz, Foxtrot and Quickstep. The difference, of course, is the speed. You need a bit more oomph, a bit more power because of just you haven't got as much time. But you still need to have this beautiful drive action moving forwards onto that right leg here. So you go through the standing leg in the exact same way. You flex through the joints, your body starts to flight, you swing the free leg into position, absorb the weight. The difference now is when you move sideways, we'd obviously turn. The leg goes out to the side on a toe, it doesn't lower. That knee stays bent, and then the closing foot, or the closing leg, stays straight, and I slide that foot in. And that is what allows me to control the rise action and the speed of the Viennese Waltz. So big drive on the first one, absorbing beautifully through the standing leg, swinging the leg to the side, you would normally be rotating, swinging the leg to the side, the heel stays up, the knee stays flexed, and then the other leg slides in straight, soft knee, ballroom straight, with the foot flat. Moving backwards, exactly the same. You drive through the standing leg, body weight stays forwards, the back leg goes back in contact with the floor, leg is straight, you absorb into it. So as you arrive here, your joints are soft, the leg swings out to the side, straightish leg as it moves to the side. As you then move into it, the knee flexes, heel stays off the floor, the closing leg stays straight, again to maintain that rise and fall action that we've got in Viennese Waltz, which is pretty flat to be fair, but we have the rise through the feet. And that's how you're going to control it. So you've got this very peculiar straightening of the leg, bending of the knee, then driving, straightening of the leg, bending of the knee as you come in. So it does produce a bit of a strange feeling, but it allows you to cope with the speed of the music, and it actually looks pretty good. Reverse turns in the Viennese Waltz, again, exactly the same. So again, you're driving away from the standing foot in the exact same way that I've already described. The leg swings out to the side in the exact same way again as the natural turns. Difference being though, when you cross in front, you'll have a slightly soft knee at the front as well, just to facilitate the crossing of the leg behind there, so that the knee has got somewhere to sit just behind the front leg. The second half of a reverse turn, where you close. So after you've done 1, 2, 3, as you move backwards, again, this is exactly the same as we've been talking about. the closing actions on the natural turn. So the Viennese waltz is an odd one. And then you've got your change steps, which again are exactly the same. So you drive again beautifully powerfully here. Change step, exactly the same process again with a bent knee and a straight leg. Odd, but it works. I promise it works. Coupled with the rotation and the sway as well. Got counter sway in Viennese waltz too, which just complicates matters even more. But that's not to do with your legs at the moment. So soft joints is really important in this one. But then as you do close, I do feel quite strong, quite hard in my joints and my muscles here, because I need to, because I've got to acting like an anchor, like a brake for all that speed. Because if you don't, you could either flight up off the floor and you get a bit of a skipping action, or it collapses and you've got no strength to control the speed. So it's important to be strong in your legs on the closing actions in Viennese waltz. So that's it for leg action in ballroom for now. Hopefully that's been of use. You've just got to remember that you've got to use your joints in your legs at all times. They're always going to be working, and there's always an element of softness through your legs as you're moving forward and backwards to allow you to produce a beautiful leg action, except in those closing actions in Viennese waltz. So that works in tandem with, of course, the footwork. So be sure to check out the footwork lecture as well to help you to understand what your legs have got to do. If your feet aren't right, your legs can't be right, because they're on the end, aren't they, of your legs. So get the feet right first, and then you can develop your leg action as well. Final thought, super important, whoever's moving backwards, don't ever allow your heels to dollop down. So you never want to dollop down. Always lower the back heel with control. That's so important. And when you're moving backwards, remember your body weight is still going forwards from that point of no return. And then you'll get that compression with your partner, and then you can move backwards. Don't ever just take your body weight away from your partner. It'll end in tears. Anyway, thank you very much for listening and watching. See you soon.
And there we go, everybody. Hopefully that was beneficial. Hopefully that was useful. Yeah, it's just me at the moment. Kelly's just putting the finishing touches to dinner. I really wanted to get dinner cooked in that time. Needed another 3 minutes, so Kelly's just finishing off. Yeah, anyway, there we go. So here I am, I'm back. So hopefully that was useful. So if anyone's got any more questions about that, thank you very much, Sarah. Yeah, how not to do dancing. Yeah, it definitely looks a bit like the Ministry of City Walks. It's easy. One of the reasons that when I try and demonstrate things badly, one of the reasons I do it really badly was from an anecdote from one of my teachers. So these guys that I used to go for lessons with Kelly, and partners before Kelly as well, Michael and Vicky Barr. Now they were world champions in the 80s, and they were one of the first world champions of the time to go to New Zealand to teach. Now New Zealand obviously is a bit of a backwater. In those days it was very much a backwater of ballroom dancing, not a producer of many great dancers at that time. And so they were still learning, they were still developing their dancing. And so Michael and Vicky went out there to teach, and they were doing the ballroom lessons and things like that. And so Michael's got a really quirky, fun way of teaching. So he was showing them what to do, and then showing them what they were doing and how they shouldn't do it and that sort of thing. What they shouldn't do, what they should do, much the same as I was doing. And he said he didn't really get much feedback from the class. And then he spoke to the teacher afterwards, and he asked the teacher, he said, well, why did they not seem to respond to that too well? What was the problem? And he said, well, the problem was you showed them how to do it badly and how to do it well, and they didn't really see any difference. So they couldn't figure out what the problem was. And from that moment, he then decided to make sure that if he's ever going to describe or show things badly to get the message across, it's got to be really awful, so that you really exaggerate the fault, so that it really impregnates itself into the person's mind that, oh God, I don't want to look like that. That's not how I want to dance. So that's kind of where I got it from. Because he used to do silly things in lessons about bad posture and put his trousers up past his belly and that sort of thing and stand there. and you think, oh God, yeah, I don't want to look like that. That's awful. God, if I look as bad as you do, God, and you were a world champion. So yeah, no. So that's where I got it from to make it look particularly silly. Anyway, there we go. So anyone got any questions? Very eloquent, James. Thank you very much. I do my best. Mostly one take. As well with all of my videos. There's a few little cuts where I just have a moment to think about what I'm going to say next. But generally speaking, I'll just go ahead and do it, and yeah, it's done within 40 minutes. As I say every week, I don't know what I'm going to say beforehand, and then I end up running out of time, typically. Yeah. So, any more questions? Anything else you want me to... Any more pressing questions other than personal questions at the moment? You can ask me personal things if you want, and I will do my best to answer. Anyone? No one. Well, isn't that wonderful? You all know so much. We've obviously taught you so much about dancing. I'm trying to think of something that I've got to tell you, but just dropped Super. It's gone viral. Super? When did I say super? Oh, super important. Yeah. I think I said important a few too many times actually in that particular workshop. Yeah, I said that this was important, that was important, the other's important. Yeah. Super important though is really important. It's it really means business when it's super important. Normally, I'd have things to tell you, but there is nothing to tell you. Nothing's changed from last week. I've got no plans, nothing. Everything just ticks on as it was. Nothing else is going to be happening, unfortunately. My hair's getting really long, can't really do a lot with it. It's a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, look like a scraggly old hermit when I popped out earlier today to get something. I look like a hermit, pretty much. But I suppose I'm not the only one, and there's no way I'm going to be having clippers on my head. How important are shoes types? Well, you've got to find the shoes that work for you, because different shoe manufacturers have they all have different lasts, of course. They're all different. They have different fits. We obviously sell Ray shoes. We wore Ray shoes when we competed. Before that, I wore Freed of London and International dance shoes. But personally, I always found the Ray shoes the best. Something that the guy that runs that said to me was that whilst he can't guarantee on making a pair of shoes that will make someone win a competition, he can definitely make a pair of shoes that will help someone to lose a competition. So a pair of dance shoes, a good pair of dance shoes is of paramount importance. Comfort is really important, and then ensuring that they've got a certain amount of durability as well, because you don't always. It's a false economy sometimes to pay a pittance for a pair of shoes that will wear out within a matter of lessons. The good shoes are expensive, unfortunately, normally as well. And they're typically, some of the more expensive ones have been developed and trialled by some of the best dancers in the world. So you know that they're fit for purpose. I actually helped Ray Rose to develop some shoes as well a long time ago as well. So the insoles that they put in Ray Rose shoes were part of the project that I was working on with them as well. So that helps to support the feet. Heels or not for men? Depends, Alan. Depends what you're talking about heels. Do you mean a Cuban heel or not? So the Latin shoes, the Latin obviously movement's a bit different to ballroom movement. Your weight is going to be more towards the back of your foot all the time in Latin to produce a hip action and a movement away from the standing foot. We'll talk about that next week in the Latin leg action. You don't need that so much in the ballroom because you're always moving away from the foot, and it's also about visual. So a Cuban heel for the man in Latin is better. It pitches the man's weight further forward, and then they have to compensate by producing different angles and curves in their body. So it just produces a different look. For ladies, a higher heel obviously produces the illusion of a longer leg. It's not always so easy to move in a high heel, of course, though, for a lady, like a 3-inch stilettos type heel or something like that. I would never advocate a Cuban heel in a ballroom for a man. Really, you want a slightly lower heel. So a 1 inch or a 3/4 inch heel is better for a man. But it's down to preference with ladies. Sometimes it also depends how big your foot is for a lady, actually. So if a lady's got a particularly small foot, then having a 3-inch heel is not a great idea. But if they've got a larger foot, then it's not such a bad idea. Oh, thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah.
But the higher the heel, the harder it is to use your feet in ballroom. In Latin, it's slightly different, and it's all down to balance then in Latin. So, really, yes. So Sarah says exactly, no gossip, no big news, just keep dizzy feet. Well, I quite like that. That's good. That's not bad. I like that.
No gossip,
No gossip, no big news, just keep dizzy feet. That could be a new slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you finished my dinner?
I have. It looks very cheesy.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Is it?
Yeah.
It looks more cheesy than the one in the picture.
Is it?
Yeah. So I don't know if I did it quite right, but.
So did you put the parmesan in first?
Mhm.
In 2 batches?
2 batches.
Let it all melt in.
Yeah.
Then put the other one in.
Yeah.
Maybe I put a bit too much of the other one in.
It did look really cheesy. I'm sure it's still really nice, but.
Oh well. It's not real cheese.
Vegan cheese.
Vegan cheese. We don't eat cheese. Yeah. I can smell it actually.
Yeah, my hands really
Yeah, I
smell
can
it.
smell you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Wonderful. How delicious. Well, they're all a bit quiet now.
They're gone all quiet.
Yeah, they've gone a bit quiet. Alan came up with a few questions.
Mhm.
Well, one question actually: how important are shoes?
Very important.
So I had a little
Yeah.
waffle about that. Ray, something we really worship very much. As it's the first time for us to see demonstration. It does take a while.
It's a bit of a
Facebook
on
hasn't though.
YouTube.
YouTube appears to have stopped. I don't know whether it has or not. Oh, it's back again. It might have just been the fact that I'm coming out of the window. I don't know. That's an excellent connection though. If you're watching on YouTube, hopefully that's still working. Well, there we go. So they're all a little bit. They're just waiting for me to say something.
Taking it all in, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Alan said very eloquent.
I do my best. I do my best. It's looking very likely that our dance holiday won't be going ahead in April. I mean, I really can't see a scenario where that will be able to happen. Can you?
April seems really not that far away, doesn't
No.
it?
Yeah.
Pardon me. I went down the wrong hole.
Kelly's been coughing all year.
That's not something you should say.
She's coughing all year. What?
They're going to think I've got...
No, you've got an allergy. It's just that you've got a cough.
No, I haven't.
We haven't got a cough. You just...
No, I haven't. That went... Oh, wait.
Okay.
I did have a cold.
Yes, I know. And you still haven't shaken your cough, have you? When Kelly gets any kind of cold, it lasts...
I had a cold and...
It lasted 17 years. Sorry, carry on, Cal.
Yeah, so I got a bit stuffy up here and then it went down the back of my throat a bit. Don't worry. Please don't worry. I do not have the dreaded... I'm not even going to say it. No, I don't have that at all. But every now and then if I get a bit dry, especially if I go outside in the cold air, then yeah. But that's me all over. I mean, I don't survive winters very well.
No. No.
But I've been indoors most of the time, so
Yes.
actually this winter I've kind of got off pretty easily.
Alan's had a cough for about 6 months.
Oh, he's definitely got it,
Yeah.
hasn't he?
Lou, if you're looking at the Ray Rose website, don't order through them, order through us, because I'll get them cheaper for you. If you want a pair of shoes from Ray Rose, there's no pressure, but we stock them and we can get them cheaper.
Well, I don't stock them, we get them in.
We get them. Well, yeah, we don't stock them. We do have some stock still.
Yeah, a little bit. haven't we?
Yeah, we've got a little bit of stock left. And then I can have them sent to you directly. So I order through me, and I get them sent directly to you from Ray Rose. So yeah.
They're very good shoes.
Alan wants to know what the cheese concoction is.
Well, it's 2 different types of vegan cheese, but you can use 2 different types of normal cheese.
Well, it
So
says it's with
Parmesan
and
and pecorino.
pecorino. Yeah.
And basically, it's pasta. And you can explain it better, but it's in a nutshell,
I'll
it's
tell him.
pasta, 2
I'll tell him.
cheeses, and a herbizatore.
Well, you tell him then.
Go on, then you tell
Too late. You've told him now.
No, I haven't. You explain the process.
Right. So you boil up some water. We add linguine. You don't have to be linguine. It can be any long pasta. Boil that up. Reserve the water. So you don't throw the water away, you reserve the water, keep the starchy water. And then you put some butter in a pan, 50 grams of butter.
Ours is vegan butter.
Vegan butter. With some za'atar, which is this herby thing. You get it from Waitrose. It's a mixture of all different herbs. Yeah. And 2 teaspoons of black pepper. Mixed in with the butter, give that a mix for about a minute. Then you add the reserved water, mix all that in for about 5 minutes, let it all bubble up nicely so it's like a nice glazy, like a sauce. Add the pasta, stir that in, make sure it's all absorbed. And then you pour in the parmesan that you've shaved, 130 grams of parmesan for us, or parmesan for someone else. You add that to the pan, mix it in 2 batches so it all soaks in and melts. And then you add the other cheese in as well afterwards. I think maybe I've done too much tonight. And then you dish it up, drizzle a little bit of olive oil on the top, and a little bit more za'atar on the top to finish. Done. Delicious.
Really,
absolutely
really
exquisite. Takes about 30 minutes.
It's a bit of a treat, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bronco stop. Pastels. Hibernate.
Yeah, Kelly would love to hibernate if she could.
Well, I have been, haven't I?
Yeah, it was. I've got an alternative. That's from a recipe book, but I came up with another alternative.
Ottolenghi, I think it's. Yeah. It's a vegetarian cookbook basically, and it's lovely, really, really lovely.
Yeah, it's got some really great stuff.
If you want to cook some really lovely meals. Well, they don't just have cheese meals.
It's not just cheesy, Alan.
No. Well, that particular dish is. But it's really nice.
It is delicious.
I'm not particularly a big cheese person
either. No, not big on cheese at all. So that's why we don't really miss cheese and slices too, because we've never really ate it.
No, but they have some really lovely recipes in there. I did some mushrooms in...
mushrooms?
Yeah. You know the big,
mushrooms?
The big flat ones.
Mushrooms?
Shut up.
Magic mushrooms they were.
Those with a slightly spicy sauce.
It was too spicy. It was a bit too spicy, actually.
Yeah, and a butterbean mash. I mean,
butterbean mash was exquisite.
So yummy. So yummy.
Exquisite butterbean mash.
It's all very, very simple, but really done really well. Some of it can feel a bit fussy to begin with, but it's only because it's a slightly different way of cooking things. So it just takes you a little bit to get used to that once, but actually it's quite simple, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got I've tweaked the recipe as well for something that I might do for a Saturday night dinners episode as well.
Yeah,
so something I come up with myself.
9 months ago, wasn't it, that you did
that?
Yeah,
10 months ago. 10 months ago.
Was it the ragu?
Yeah. Yeah, crazy. And the plan was to do them on a regular basis. Never got round to it. Ray, being flat-footed, would Cuban heels make life easier learning Latin for someone like me? Possibly. I wouldn't know, to be honest. You can only try. It'll help you put your weight a bit further forward, maybe. So, yeah, why not? Why not? Try it. Try it. It might be useful for you. It might help. Insoles might help as well. Something in your arches, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm no podiatrist, though.
I'm not flat-footed. I've got quite a high arch. So, haven't experienced that problem.
Yeah. Carol says, what is the name of the book so I can avoid it?
Ottolenghi.
Why don't you go and get it and show it to me?
You want me to go and get it?
Go and get it quickly while I just
it's
wind
lovely, but
I wind
I
this
got it
down.
for a Christmas present.
Yeah. You did. I didn't buy it for Christmas. Someone bought it for Christmas. We've got a lot of recipe books. Another one that we use a lot is a guy called Avant-Garde Vegan. Great stuff. Fabulous food. Fabulous. Is that dog still here? Oh no, of course, he's trotted off following Kelly. Any more dancing questions? Anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to go and have me dinner. Yes, I've got another project in the works that it's taken a bit of time to put together because it's quite elaborate, actually. So it's taken a little bit of time. But so that's something to look forward to. You don't know what it is, though, quite, so you can't look forward to it. But you can get excited that something is going to happen.
Shall I show them?
Go on then, show them then, Kel. Show them, Kel.
How do I tell that they can see it?
Well, there we go.
Oh, there we go. That's the book. Ottolenghi, which is the chef's surname, I think. Flavour. There we go, that way. And this is what we've made tonight. I
didn't need the recipe book, but I'd like to point out.
He's made it a few times now, so
I knew what I was doing. She had to because
I've not made it because I just let him do it.
She had to finish it off, so she needs to double check.
Can you pronounce that?
Oh, goodness sake.
Is that Italian?
Zataka Caccaccio.
Caccio.
I pepe.
I pepe.
I
We need
think.
the Italians to
We do need the Italians to do that, yeah. Right.
But it's full of lots of lovely stuff.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Delicious book. I like it. So thank you, J&K. Note. It was meant to be night. I like it. Yeah. Have you already got the book as well then, Sarah Ball? Why is practice wear always black? Because people sweat, Diane. And when you sweat in black, it doesn't show as much.
To be fair though, it's not always black. I mean,
No, it's not always black, but typically it's black, isn't it?
Croissant has come out with lots of stuff that have been lots of different colours and stuff.
Yeah. Well, they do
But I
that.
think-
They do that just to be different because people want a bit of colour because everything historically has always been black.
Yeah, but I think it's just hard, isn't it? Because it's so practical.
Mm.
Black's just so practical for when you're going to be sweating in it all the time. What about the days when you used to practice in different coloured trousers?
Those were the days, Kel. Those were the days. When I was a bit younger doing Latin at dance studios in London, I was
I
always...
wasn't there for these days.
No,
But
you've been told about them, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I was quite the... Yeah, they were looking forward to seeing what colour I would turn up in. So I used to practice my Latin in jeans. It's big fashion in the 90s.
Yes, he is.
In the late 90s, where everyone would practice in jeans. Completely not the case now, but big fashion. Everyone practiced in jeans.
Yeah.
So we practiced in denim jeans. I had yellow jeans. I had orange jeans. I had did I say yellow?
Yellow, orange.
Yellow, orange, and green. Green jeans. Yeah, it's practiced different coloured jeans every week. Come and say a good evening, everyone, because you haven't seen them yet.
She looks a wreck.
She's
by the way.
knackered as well. She needs to go to bed. She's going to bed early. So.
Last day of school today.
Chubby face.
Look at this
Look at the
face.
state of this one.
Covered in.
The camera's here tonight.
Look up there.
Hello.
Covered
Not
in
used to that.
tomato sauce. Somebody got Star of the Week today
I did. It was
Her,
me. Oh, no.
No, it's just me.
for
it's
her
just
work.
me. I had the star of the day.
Okay.
But you're the star of the day for Space Adventure.
Space Adventures, thank you.
What did you get
And
it
you're
for?
the star of the day for doing nothing.
I helped you today a lot.
I mean
That
doing
wasn't nothing.
Dear. Oh dear, I
I
think it's time
can't
to go.
remember.
You came
It's time to go.
downstairs, tears flooded in
can't
tears.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, now I remember. So you got a
Yeah.
reward for that.
I helped you a lot.
Bye!
Yes. Right. Anyway. Yes. So it's on Amazon, I'm sure. Alan, yeah. Ottolenghi flavour. Just to clarify again, there we go. Ottolenghi flavour. Have a look at it on Amazon. We've got no affiliate links, unfortunately.
No, we don't
So-
get any money if you buy it.
And yes, Southampton did manage a win in the cup. Yeah, 2-0. There we go. We got Wolves on Sunday in the league. We're not. I'm still kind of done with football, but let's wait and see how we go at the weekend. But I'm not counting my chickens. Yes. So that's it. I think that's it now. I think we're done. I think we're pretty much done, aren't we?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in once again, for coming along on a Friday night and supporting us. It's nice to know you're there.
Oh, have you chosen what you're going to do tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to do the Latin section of the leg action, aren't I?
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't quite have time for it this week, did I?
Buddy was trying to chew this.
Oh, that's the power cable
Yeah.
for the camera battery. Well, hopefully you like the new camera angle as well.
I don't.
You don't like it? Why not?
No.
Why not?
Oh, they look awful.
So, what do you prefer the other one then?
I don't like any of them, to be honest.
Well, then it doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter. I didn't ask you anyway,
Mm.
because it doesn't matter. I knew whatever camera angle I suggested, you'd say I don't like it.
Mm.
This one's a bit better quality. Get off all that, you bad dog. That's not for you.
Buddy's trying to eat everything.
Yes. Right, yes, but on that note, I think we'll just go.
Okay.
So, thank you for tuning in once again, everyone. Thank you for stopping by. It's good night from me,
It's good night from him.
and
Not good night from me, apparently. I don't say good night.
so the lecture from tonight will be online in a moment if you want to relive it and watch it on YouTube, so you can do that. And in the meantime, enjoy yourselves, have a good week, good weekend, and I'll see you on Wednesday.
Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.